Welcome back, and to delve into that particular important topic, we're very delighted to be joined live over the phone by His Excellency Ambassador Hussein Haridy, his former Assistant Minister Foreign Affairs. Good morning, Ambassador Haridy.
Good morning, ma'am.
How are you doing, sir? First of all, the D8 Summit is actually a platform for economic cooperation among 8 major developing countries. Can you shed more light on the importance of that particular summit and the timing of the summit?
Well, this is an organization that was established back in 1997, and as you have just mentioned, with the objective of deepening economic cooperation among the 8 member countries. And of course, yesterday, Egypt hosted the 11th summit of this organization. And the countries that are members in it do represent a sizable number in the world population, as well as a leading, and some of them are major oil producing countries like Nigeria, for instance. And in the meantime, Indonesia, which also a founding member, is considered to be the largest Muslim democracy in the world, with a population more than 200 million people. And as far as Egypt is concerned, the total foreign trade of Egypt with the member countries in this organization is around 17 billion US dollars. Of course, this is a sizable figure, but yesterday there was a determination to increase the intra-trade relations between the 8 countries, as well as expanding cooperation to the health sector. In this context, the President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi decided that Egypt would host the first conference for the health ministers next year in Egypt. Besides, the summit took place in a changing and risky regional situation in the Middle East. And of course, Egypt called for a special session, organized a special session yesterday to discuss the situation in occupied Palestine and in Lebanon. So I guess the meeting, or the summit was successful. And now the most important thing is to carry out the decisions that have been taken in the summit.
The D8 summit this year focused over investing in youth and supporting small and medium enterprises, the SMEs. So why was this particular theme chosen, and how does it reflect the priorities of the member states who attended?
Well, it's considered that the more you have, the more you facilitate the establishment of small and medium companies. That tends to create job opportunities, and this is a field that these countries really have to cooperate, because, as I said earlier, the population in some member countries are large, and the economic development demands that these governments facilitate the emergence and the creation of the small and medium enterprises, because that would create jobs and would spread prosperity in various geographic areas within these countries.
Right. Ambassador Haridi, how does the 11th edition of the D8 summit stand out compared to previous ones?
Well, it's a continuation. I guess it comes in, it reflects the political will on the part of these countries to give impetus and to give momentum to cooperation, to the spirit and the will of cooperation and deepening their cooperation in economic and commercial fields. So I guess that this is this is the 11th from 1997 to today. So I guess it reflects the will, the political will of the member countries to increase cooperation, economic cooperation among them.
Right. So with key leaders, including countries like Indonesia, Turkey, Iran in attendance, what exact role does leadership collaboration play in achieving the summit's objectives?
Well, of course, Indonesia, of course, was represented by its new head of state. Turkey was represented by the Turkish president. Iran was represented by the Iranian president, who was just elected last July. So and some other countries, and we listened to the Lebanese caretaker Prime Minister Naguib Mikati, as well as, of course, the chairman of the National Palestinian Authority. So I believe the representation was good, and there was on the margin of on the sidelines of the summit, there was a meeting between President Sisi and President Erdogan of Turkey, where they discussed the prospects of a ceasefire in Gaza as well as the situation in Syria. So all in all, I guess it was a successful summit, and hopefully, as I said, the decisions that were taken would be implemented.
Right. What specific strategies are being discussed to empower the youth of the D8 member countries? Well,
I guess that will be decided by the interested ministers and ministers in the countries. As you said, in the summit, they do agree on the major outlines, but the details should be worked out by the ministers concerned and by the private sector, not only by governments, because the creation of small and immediate enterprises, this is mainly done by the private sector. So I believe that in the next during the chairmanship, during the presidency of Egypt of this organization, I believe that Egypt would invite and would organize some meetings to discuss the ways and means of achieving this.
Right. So the SMEs, or the small and medium enterprises, are known. Of course, it's well known that they are the backbone of economies, lots of economies. So how can D8 nations work together to strengthen the SME sectors?
Well, as I said, these are technical details, and of course that should be decided by, as I said, the private sector in these countries. Governments should encourage cooperation among the private sector. They exchange of experiences, studying the difficulties in these societies in creating small and intermediate enterprises, and sharing these experiences and looking for ways to benefit from success stories in these countries. If there is a country that has been successful, very successful in doing this, then we can share this experience and see what we can borrow from this experience and apply, whether in Egypt or in any other member country.
Exactly. So what initiatives are being proposed to enhance innovation and technological advancements among D8 countries?
Well, frankly speaking, that, as I said, this should be left, Madam, to the ministries concerned. These are highly technical details, and I guess experts would be better placed to answer this question.
Of course, there are economic disparities among member states that pose challenges. So how do you think those are being taken by the member states or the people who are interested in that particular summit to address these differences and to overcome those challenges?
Well, of course, there are disparities among these nations, economically speaking. And maybe this is one of the reasons why this organization came into being years back. And but disparities among these nations, among the summit or the organization, the secretariat of the organization, I don't think that one of its mandate is to overcome disparities. I guess the major objective is to cooperate in the economic field, try to increase trade among the countries, foreign trade among the countries, and if there are problems, they can discuss it, and they can find solutions, discuss solutions for solving these problems. But I doubt very much if one of the objectives is to overcome the economic disparities. Of course, every country, each country has its own policies, has its own economic philosophy, and maybe in the future they can learn from each other.
Right. So this 11th summit comes a little bit way different from other previous ones. Why? Because there are ongoing major global challenges, mostly the crisis in Gaza, Lebanon, what happened in Syria, and all this. So how can these crises or how can these changes in the Middle East influence discussions in the summit and influence decisions and aspirations of the summit?
Well, as I referred earlier, Madam, Egypt, due to the situation in the Middle East, called for, organized a special session in the summit to discuss the situation in Gaza and in Lebanon. And Mr. Naguib Mikati, the Prime Minister of Lebanon, came and addressed this special session. And of course, also the chairman of the National Palestinian Authority, Mr. Mahmoud Abbas, was Abu Mazen, and of course in the final declaration, all participants agreed on peace, security in the region, and I'm sure that their diplomacies would cooperate in international and regional organizations to carry out these objectives.
Right. Ambassador Haridy, we're talking about a conference that mainly is focusing on economic development cooperation. So how can economic cooperation contribute to regional stability from your own point of view, particularly in times of political and social unrest?
Well, I think that in order to have economic prosperity, you need to have security, stability, and peace. because it's very difficult to foresee or to imagine economic prosperity or economic development taking place in areas where there are armed conflicts and crises. So I guess the main objective of this organization, the D8 Economic Cooperation Organization, of deepening economic cooperation, is one of the ways of really ensuring work together to establish security and stability in geographic areas where they are. Of course, there is a linkage between security and stability and economic development and economic prosperity.
Right. Ambassador Hussein Haridy, former Assistant Foreign Minister, would like to thank you, sir, talking to us on the Breakfast Show. You have a very good day. We're going to go to a short break and we'll come to continue the show, so stay with us.